Welcome back to another video, and this one we're going to start getting this ready to run again. Let's see how far we get. Well, as you can see, the foam from the front is all missing now, so that's all off, and the chain is gone, so there's no lifting this thing back out. It's here to stay. So this wiring, I've got to sort out where that goes and how it goes, because some of the stuff that's on this side needs to be on that side, and some of the stuff that's on that side needs to be on this side. How did I manage that? I've got no idea, but let's get into it. 1 hour later, we are getting some progress. That needs to go over there, so that can stay there. Fuse box has moved from there to there. I've been working on the computer wires. They are now through the firewall, and that is sealed up. This wire is still giving me grief. If I come under here, I've actually plugged one thing in. So I've actually plugged this. That there. I don't remember what that does, but that's part of the ECU harness. So that's all ready to go, clipping into the ECU. Gonna have to come up with another plan for that because that hasn't worked. So yeah, ticking along slowly but nicely. It's a few nights later and the fuse box is now in. Got that wiring running around the strut tower. Fuse box is all plugged in. Sorted out the fuel pump wire. Needed to buy some bigger terminals to get that thick wire on, so got some of them today, got them in, so can put the engine module in, coil, set the map sensor up, and then we can go to this side and start that schmozzle. A little bit more work done today. Got that module in, plugged in, all good. Come over to this side. I've also got the power steering belt on now, and it clears the power steering line, which was giving me a bit of a heart attack as I was trying to put the belt on. I thought it was going to hit, but it's probably got about an inch and a half of clearance, so that's good. Got all these plugs in, just sorting out this mess. Got the battery tray in, not fully, just lightly screwed in there, because I wanted to put this stuff on here. I don't want to scratch the paint, so that's heading in the right direction. And I've also been under the car tightening up those exhaust bolts, and they're bloody tough. So I think that they're tight enough now. So I think the next thing I might tackle is the power steering lines, getting the hard line in the back and making up a rubber line from there to there, and tightening into the steering box. But it's coming along nicely. I've also got to feed that through the firewall somewhere, because that plugs into the inside of the car. Still got to run heater hoses, and obviously the whole front of the engine's got to go back in. But things are happening. Should clean that before the water bottles go in, but I'm getting there. Moving along, a bit more progress has happened. I have managed to get the back of the power steering into the back of the pump, but it's come at a cost, unfortunately. I have hurt my back, so I'm out of action at the moment. But in order to get that in there, I had to take the belt off, loosen the pump so I could swing it, and then screw it in and then tighten it back up. The biggest problem I had was down here. All right, here's where the issue is. I didn't tighten up these nuts before I put the motor in. And in order to tighten up the high pressure, I had to take the low pressure out. And now the low pressure won't go back in. So that needs to be rejigged. That needs to be rebent. Like, I can start to get that thread in, but I can tell if I try and tighten it up, it's going to strip the thread out, so I don't want to do that. So I need to change the bend here a little bit to be able to get it in. I also got the coil in, and that's on the firewall, but coming to the wiring section, I was going to put this on and it fell off. Now I have soldered it back on, and I was wondering to myself, what is that thing? I thought, oh, it's some kind of earth. So I Googled it, and it appears it's a radio frequency capacitor or something like that. If anybody knows and can confirm that, that would be great. I'm pretty sure it's nothing to do with the wiring for the coil. Pretty sure it's something to cancel noise out in the radio, something like that. So I have got it soldered back on, but whether it'll be any good or not, I don't know. And how much more work will I get done with my back saw? Only time will tell. It usually takes 4 or 5 days to heal, so yeah, we'll see how I go. Surprise, surprise, my back is healed and I'm back at it again. What have I been up to? Other than just about to drop these cable ties off the car and make a mess. That broke off again, so that solder didn't work. It doesn't want to attach inside of that. I know it's not probably needed, but I found one on eBay, 10 bucks, so let's put it in anyway, hey? Power steering is all tightened up. Power steering. Done. Where is it? There. So both lines are tightened in and fully down. All that needs to do now is rubber hose from that end to the back of the pump. I've been trying to work out the charcoal canister. Cannot for the life of me remember where the VK one went or the VR one. I do know that these two hoses here went to it. Now from what I've searched on a V6, the canister's there. That ain't going to work for me because that's the back of the headlight and we've got the battery, so I don't know on that. Radiator is back out and test fitted in the car and fits. However, that mount there was bent, so that's now straightened up. No big issue there, but radiator shrouds, I'm trying to work out what goes with what, and nothing seems to fit. The conclusion I've come to is, now this is an aftermarket radiator, it is a VK V8 one. So I'm pretty sure I have to use the VK shroud. It does line up with the top mounting holes to screw in. However, there is meant to be some tabs on the bottom of this that are not there, and the cutout on the bottom of that allows it to sit down further over that bracing there, whereas the VR one won't fit on and is a no-go zone. But being an aftermarket radiator, its tanks are slightly narrower and I can't get that to fit in all the way. Anyways, I've pulled out some other things that I'm going to need. Got the bit of the AC stuff, the compressor, there is a dryer there somewhere, fans, bit of the lines, but I can't for the life of me find what I've done with the condenser. I can find the VK one, which is rubbish and falling apart, so that's no good, but I cannot find the VR one, so I'm thinking what I'll do is just not run it and somehow mount the charcoal canister down in there so it's hidden and you can't see it. And then that's out of the way and looks cleanish here. I just got to find a way to mount it because it doesn't have clamps or anything on the damn thing. That's the clamp from the 6-cylinder one, the VK. And I can't remember how that mounts either. There's a piece missing from that, which ain't on here, which now that I'm thinking it could be one of those random brackets laying around. Anyway, thing to note is the VR and the VK fan, exactly the same part number, everything. Different clutch, but same fan. Same part number is the same on both, so handy to know for everyone playing at home. While I was under the car, I did find a wire hanging down, which was the O2 sensor, and lo and behold, that was almost impossible to find behind here to plug it in, but I got it in the end, so that's done. Another thing plugged in, but yeah, still a fair bit to do. Still not looking forward to sorting out that. Most of this side's sorted, but getting there slowly. Alright, I will keep soldering on and give you a progress update shortly. Been trying to quickly work out some of this wiring here. Got the main harness plugged in. I think I wanted it routed around there, and that'll go underneath windscreen washer and overflow bottles, so that'll be hidden. These relays are going to be bolted up under here, so they'll be out of the way. I just need to find some hardware for that. I haven't got any. I've bolted down the battery tray properly, and I've decided to go with some rubber grommets underneath, just in case of rattling or anything like that, so that's taken care of. I've also tightened up the engine mount bolts, so they're fully in and ready to go. I've also been playing around with radiators. This is the original 6-cylinder one, and it had those couple of tabs on the bottom, which you'll see here. So these tabs here, I just need to clamp these ones down, like they just clip in these slots here. I'll clamp them down, and that's what the bottom of this shroud goes into. Still having fitment issues with this, as it is slightly too wide for the tank, so probably going to have to take just a smidgen of that edge off for it to fit. But once these go in like this, well, they kind of slide in like that. You get the picture. And then that's meant to sit in there, and then you have a mount there and one over there, and that's how that sits on. So it's just a matter of fine tuning on that. And that can go in the car. That'll be ready to go. So that's what I've been up to this morning. It's about lunchtime now. I'm going to go in and have some lunch and warm up, and then we'll get back at it this afternoon. Back at it again, and a little bit more progress. Hitting many roadblocks. The relays are in position. Put the battery in to check things. I've also put a headlight in. Fitting the overflow and washer bottles. That's what's giving me issues at the moment, because I need to run the wiring around the back. And this little fuse panel here looks like I'm going to have to add a little bit of extensions onto these to be able to bring it round here. And then that can be where that wants to live. And then I'm going to try and get these to plug back into those, which is probably going to be about 1 inch short. So that's not going too well. And then if I do that, look at that. Headlight guard sitting there, starting to come together. Pay no attention to all the dust that's on there, because that's insanely bad. And there's no bolts, that's just sitting on there by itself. So it's good when things start to come together and you see a little bit of progression. Makes you want to keep going. So if I had that door open, I'd be able to go out and have a look, but I don't. So let's open it and see. There we go, not much more different, but that isn't going to stay there for too long. Just test fitting. But it's looking good. A little bit more work done. I've been sorting around this area here. I'm trying to sort out the washer bottle is in, and trying to sort out the wiring that goes around that. I do need to make a permanent mount for that. That's just resting there at the moment. I did extend the wires that go on that so it can drop down there, whereas before it was just hanging up here and doing nothing. Those wires breach, so that's good. Still sorting out battery terminals and trying to make that look respectable. And the other thing I was doing was tidying up some of the wiring back here that goes into the main plug. Just wrapping some tape so it doesn't look messy. And one of the wires pulled off. And I thought, oh, geez, what's going on there? So had a quick look, and none of them were terminized. Or in other words, nothing had terminals. They were just twisted together, wrapped with electrical tape. So I've just spent the last half an hour, 45 minutes pulling all that apart and putting terminals, making sure everything's good. So we have no bad connections or anything like that, or, wires disconnecting. So they're all proper, male, female terminals. I know that looks ridiculous and ugly, but have you seen the price of a new one? 160 to 220 bucks for one that's white. Can I clean that up? I've got no idea. There is a cheap one around 110, but I don't know if that's going to be any good. So I would like to replace that with a clean one, but we'll see what happens. All right, that's where I'm going to wrap this video up here. There's a bit of progress being made. Would have been nice to have actually get it cranking over and starting, but I don't want to jump to that too quickly because I still have no oil, no trans fluid, obviously no coolant because the radiator's not in, but hopefully all that will get done in the next video, and then hopefully at the end we can get it started. All that's left to do at the moment is I've got one set of wires that's got to go through the firewall to connect into the inside loom, put the coil wire on, and the ECU needs to be plugged in, and technically it should go after that. Well, we still need to connect fuel lines, but that's no big deal. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.